I'm Joe Catalano with an AM Quincy news update for Wednesday, October 22nd. 2 workers are hospitalized after a construction accident in Quincy last night. Police say the men were electrocuted when they struck an underground power cable near the intersection of Southern Artery and Broad Street just after 9 p.m. The men suffered serious burns and were rushed to a Boston hospital for treatment. The roadway was shut down for several hours while officials from OSHA responded to the scene to investigate. Police say it took extra time for OSHA to respond to the scene due to the government shutdown. The work is being done by National Grid. However, police say the injured workers worked for a subcontractor. The road has since been reopened, and the incident remains under investigation. The 2 separate lawsuits over the Quincy mayor's annual salary have been combined into one case. A Norfolk Superior Court judge combined the lawsuits filed by Quincy citizens for fair raises and 5 residents. The lawsuits were filed after the city clerk's office rejected a ballot petition seeking to place a question on the November 4th ballot. The fair raises suit challenges the city's contention that they did not have to certify the printed names of voters. The lawsuit by the 5 residents contends that their rights were violated when their signatures were rejected. The question would ask voters if they want to roll back the mayor's annual salary from $285,000 to $183,000. The raise is set to take effect in 2028. The question would also set 2% annual raises for all elected officials and require voters to change that policy. The combined case is still being reviewed by the court. Meantime, early voting begins this Saturday at City Hall. If the judge approves the ballot question, it could be held in a special election or put on the ballot in 2027. The Becket Fund for Religious Liberty, a prominent legal group that's argued before the Supreme Court, is joining the planned appeal from the city of Quincy over statues of Catholic saints it seeks to install on the city's new public safety headquarters. Last week, a Norfolk Superior Court judge ordered that Quincy pause the project while a lawsuit filed by a group of taxpayers backed by the American Civil Liberties Union of Massachusetts makes its way through court. The group sued in May, citing the separation of church and state. Legal arguments were heard last month regarding the city's use and financing of religious symbols for a city-owned building. Judge William Sullivan invoked the name of Quincy's favorite son, founding father, and U.S. President John Adams at the hearing and in the subsequent order, which said the lawsuit is pursuing, quote, the religious neutrality Article 3 of Massachusetts Constitution guarantees. But the city insists the figures of St. Michael the Archangel and St. Florian, commissioned for the new public safety headquarters, have been used by police and fire departments, respectively, as symbols of professional ideals. The statement from Becket said the Superior Court decision would lead to historic symbols being stripped from civic life anytime they have religious connotations, and that the U.S. Supreme Court has allowed symbols with religious roots being used in public, such as a World War I memorial with a cross. The group says there are other statues with religious iconography in Massachusetts, including a relief of Moses at Boston's John Adams Courthouse and the figure of faith at Plymouth's National Monument to the Forefathers. Becket has represented parties of various religions in court. The law firm has a track record of success with religious liberty cases, including at the Supreme Court. Becket says the nonprofit public interest firm has a 100% win rate at the highest court in the country. A wild crash on Route 3 South in Marshfield sent a driver to the hospital on Monday. Happened about 5:15 p.m. An SUV drifted into the right lane on Route 3, clipped a truck, went off the road, and flipped over Monday afternoon. Crash caused the left lane to be closed for nearly an hour as emergency services responded to the scene. Video shows the SUV flying over the guardrail and rolling over several times into the tree line. The van involved sustained some rear-end damage as well. Well, the murder trial of Brian Walsh is now set to start no sooner than November. The trial over the disappearance of his wife, Anna Walsh, was supposed to begin on Monday, but was delayed earlier this month when the Cohasset man was ordered hospitalized for evaluation of whether he's competent to stand trial. The docket for Norfolk Superior Court now lists the jury trial as beginning the morning of November 18th, although a clerk for the court noted the date could still change. Prosecutors had filed a motion asking for a trial date to be set before the competency matter was settled, saying that their witnesses would be available this November and December if Walsh is found competent. They noted that at least 7 witnesses would be summoned from out of state, presenting a logistical challenge for prosecutors, witnesses, and others involved in the matter. Walsh is due back in court October 27th for the competency hearing. He was being evaluated at Bridgewater State Hospital for 20 days to determine whether he's competent to stand trial. In their request for the evaluation, Walsh's lawyers cited 3 factors. Walsh being stabbed in prison last month, prosecutors unilaterally deciding to conduct new DNA testing right before trial, and the possibility that prosecutors found evidence favorable to him but haven't disclosed it. Walsh had a hearing on the latter matter on Monday. Federal grand jury evidence involving lead investigator Michael Proctor, the former state trooper who led the Karen Reed investigation, was being turned over to defense attorneys, including Walsh's. Prosecutors opposed the initial motion to move the trial date back, saying Walsh was returned to the jail in a few hours after he was stabbed and did not need to be admitted. National Grid is offering to help people directly affected by the ongoing shutdown of the federal government. Yesterday was the 21st day of the shutdown, with workers furloughed and President Trump moving to lay off thousands, a push that has been met with legal challenges. Democrats and Republicans have traded blame for the lack of a funding deal. A self-attestation form is available on the utility company's website for federal employees, government contractors, and active military experiencing financial uncertainty. The page notes that the information provided by applicants will allow them to temporarily place a hold on the account for the duration of the shutdown and prevent the account from being negatively impacted. The company said the service will not be shut off for accounts that are on hold because of the shutdown. Well, if you're a patient of Mass General Brigham, AI may help connect you to a new physician. With 2-year wait lists for a primary care provider, the organization is using artificial intelligence to bridge the gap. Mass General Brigham said Care Connect addresses critical gaps in primary care access and continuity, particularly for patients who don't currently have a long-term relationship with a primary care provider. The lack of primary care is a problem across Massachusetts. According to the state's Health Policy Commission, in 2023, 41% of Massachusetts residents reported difficulty accessing care. Mass General Brigham stated that the app is designed to address critical gaps in primary care access and continuity. Mass General doctors who are in the process of unionizing worry that AI's growing presence in healthcare could pose new safety risks because there is no human oversight. City of Quincy's Public Services Roadshow continues today. Representatives from the city, Quincy College, Quincy Asian Resources, Quincy Community Action Programs, Mannett Community Health Center, the South Shore YMCA, and MassHire South Shore Career Center will be at the Asian American Center on Hancock Street in Wollaston today from 9 to 11, talking about their programs and services. A presentation was also held yesterday at the Housneck Community Center. Another presentation is set for Monday at the Germantown Neighborhood Center from 10 to noon, and then the final program will be on November 7th from noon to 3 in the Quincy College Student Lounge. Check of business news this morning. Stocks are mixed. The Dow up 218. The Nasdaq dropped 36. The S&P rose a fraction. Asian stocks mostly lower. The dollar fell, the euro was up, oil at $58 a barrel. In sports, Bruins lose to the Panthers at the Garden last night, 4-3. They'll take on Anaheim in Boston tomorrow night at 7. Forecast from the National Weather Service. Rain and scattered showers this morning, maybe some clearing later, high of 66. For tonight, partly cloudy, a low 44. Tomorrow, sun and clouds, high of 61. Mainly cloudy Friday at a high of 59. Saturday, sun and clouds, high 55. The marine forecast, 2-foot waves, southerly winds 10 to 15, then turning southwest, gusting to 20 knots at a high tide 12:32 p.m. Sunrise 7:05, sets at 5:50. I'm Joe Catalano with an AM Quincy news update for Wednesday, October 22nd.